what I would say is that a lot of the the coaching and stuff that happens when you have a player 24/7, 365 effectively, when even in the summertime there's these kind of special in between seasons where people go and they can play football in different states. I've heard about that. So we're talking about possibly for the first time in a player's, or let's call them a young adult life, that they actually can play football all the time. So they're going from maybe training twice a week and one match on the weekend to going, and in these places they're playing maybe 2 matches a week and 3 or 4 or 5 training sessions.
Yeah, so in the fall, it's a traditional fall model, and one of my roles actually is working on an advancement of the current model in the college game, which is a very traditional August to December model. There's a break then December, January, and then the spring is more of a development season, and they really work on player development, getting and you're certainly restricted with times. That was probably one of the criticisms of the US system. But again, when you're at an elite program, there you have times with strength coaches, you're doing all the other stuff off the field, beyond the ball, with mental health, emotional intelligence, all the other areas that they're trying to grow you as a player, and certainly as a young person. And then with the emergence of the USL, I think is what you're talking about. So the USL would be the tier right below the pro leagues, and then within the USL there's the USL, I think it's ISL, so you could get picked up with a team. They cover all your expenses, they'll provide you housing, and you're legally allowed to do that, and you can go off then and you get to experience other states, other players, other cultures, and you get to again get an opportunity to train and play full-time over the summer, which then tees you back up into preseason, which typically starts around, it could be anywhere as early as August 1, depending on the team or the division that you're in. So it's gotten better in that regard, that now this USL, and USL actually has franchises all over the US. They're expanding their footprint at an exponential growth rate. I know the head of USL, Manavadavort, she's an amazing leader, and they really are trying to create, it's a different pathway for playing opportunities for players who are still maybe on the cusp or looking to get playing opportunities at the next level beyond even the college game. So there's a lot of movement that's happening right now. I think probably the biggest movement that you'll see is in the youth landscape, given the recent success or failing, if you will, the perceived failing of the US women's national team at the World Cup. So, but I would say in the college landscape, and certainly in USL and the NWSL, MLS, I mean, there's a lot of really good things happening in terms of the expansion of the league and the strength of what's happening in those spaces. So,
well, you're certainly painting a very attractive picture of a place that people can look at very, very seriously. Especially, I'm going to really focus a lot on the girls' side of things, because they need to, most of all, they need to know most about these options. But if I was a parent with a girl, a talented girl, what should I be doing? Let's say she's 14, 15, and I want to do my part as a parent and say, okay, Julia, look, you're going to have to think about X and Y, and these are some of the options. I know you'd love to be a professional footballer, brilliant, but this is, what should I be doing as a parent to ensure that my daughter, whatever she chooses to do, is getting the most options, it's having the most potential pathways? What should I be doing with her in terms of preparing her?
Yeah, so I think in terms of getting exposure for the recruiting pipeline, I mean, at the elite level over here, Alex, I mean, they're recruiting players at 15, 16 years of age. They're signing players 2 years in advance of their what we would call their first year, the freshman year. So it's getting video footage, and I mean, I would say the easiest pathway is obviously to go through a recruitment agency. I would first and foremost do my homework on the recruitment agency to see where are they sending players, to understand the authenticity of the pathway that they're creating for players. If they're dumping kids off in areas that are where there's a lot of turnover, where you see kids coming home after the first year, those tend to be red flags for me that either it wasn't the right fit or the right environment. So I would first and foremost, I would be looking to get good video footage. I would be creating a player profile and really just try to step back as a parent and know, like, understand who your kid is in terms of their ability. Are they independent enough to be able to go away and have the confidence to survive being away from home? I will share, this will probably make you laugh. I didn't do sleepovers as a kid. I was afraid of my own shadow. And to this day, it's still an enigma to my family that I actually went away and stayed away because I did experience homesickness, but I also had a coach that took me in kind of like an adoptive parent, if you will. And there was a great family environment in the school that I was in. I was also at a smaller school. And I think for me, the smaller school environment suited me because I had it was a big community that kind of took me in, if you will. I worked at a school that had 45,000 students. And I would say for any young person coming away, it's easy to get lost in a big environment. So understanding culture, program culture, understanding if they have other foreign student athletes in their program, so that there's a culture built in and around that program, and just doing your homework, right? Understanding the landscape. If you get approached by a school, I would really look at the historical nature of the success of the program, both athletically, graduation rates, what is their success in helping their student athletes graduate, understanding program culture, but understanding the athletic department culture, and what are the guardrails they have in place for one. First and foremost, me is player safety, right? In terms of, is your child going to an environment that is a safe place? You know, America has certainly, like any place, has its challenges, and just understanding the landscape of where your child will be located geographically. It's a lot of homework and using connections to talk to people who know the landscape. As I've indicated to you, I've been very blessed with the opportunity that I was given. And I've always talked to friends back home and said, you know, any kid that wants to come away, please use my name and my contact information, because it's a gift that I'd love to give back. I think if you're a player who doesn't have a clear pathway to the pros right now, you're interested in getting an education and just getting a life experience. I mean, above all, the life experience of coming away it's unbelievable. If you can find the right fit, you'll be forever changed, hopefully in a positive way. When I was coaching college, I brought in tons of foreign kids. It added so much to our program in terms of cultural diversity. And I can say proudly that a lot of my players got their degrees. They've either gone back home to their respective countries and they're thriving because their degree that they received really stood them good ground, but they've made lifelong friendships and they had a tremendous playing experience. So it's a great opportunity for anybody who's interested in coming away.
Well, you mentioned there about homework, and I think it's a pertinent statement to make, because the kids that do choose this route do have to be doing their homework at home as well.
100%. Yep. Yeah, I think you just have to decide, you know, what are you looking for? Are you looking to, I think getting an education is first and foremost, that's the priority, right? We say it's student first, athlete second. Like we talk about student athletes. You have to be focused and committed to that. Again, my first year, I found the academics not very challenging, but obviously I had to knuckle down at some point and get over the honeymoon period of the fact that I was in another country, living my best, what I believe to be a professional life as a footballer. And because at the end of the day, that's what keeps me centered, was my education, and then certainly the playing experience. But again, it's doing your homework on the American system. It's not that difficult. You can, I mean, with the internet now, think about this. When I came to school, I mean, the internet didn't even exist, for God's sake. So I'm a dinosaur. But I made phone calls and got my information through people who would either come over here. But, you know, the internet, just get on Google. You can Google any question about the college pathway or the student athlete, and you can find all the information you need. And then just leveraging connections and people in this network who can help. There are hundreds of us who came away all over the US who've done this very, very successfully, who I think could guide, and I think any of us would be willing to be a resource to help young people achieve what it is they're looking to do. So.